Hi, everybody. This is day 998. 998. We're getting really close to 1,000 days. And the silence by our $1 trillion government and representatives, um, judges, judicial system, attorneys is very loud, and it speaks volumes because of everything that we have. Um, 998 days since Richard vanished from the barracks. If we have the right dates, right? Um, right there from Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas, and we don't know because you know normally when somebody goes missing, when even if someone goes AWOL, so if someone goes missing, someone goes AWOL, it goes into the news. The news covers it, right? But that wasn't the case in Richard's case. Nothing in the news at all. No urgency. And you have to understand, why not? Because you had right there in Texas a real disaster happening right to the military with the Vanessa Guillen case and Gregory Morales being found. I mean, they call her, she's a whistleblower, right, for sexual harassment and assault. And she goes missing. And they go, oh, she's AWOL. She's AWOL. She's a whistleblower. She goes missing. And she's AWOL. Okay. Did you hear what I just said? She's a whistleblower. Then she goes missing. And then they say she's AWOL. The family had to fight for them to look for her and to handle things differently. They're still fighting to handle things differently. And because they rallied, they wouldn't take those kind of answers because they know their loved one, right? And they started rallying and they started looking for her and they started wanting answers. And so they forced the military, who has an obligation to our service members. They had to be forced by a group of family members and people that cared about Vanessa Guillen to rally for. How long did they rally before the military said, "Ooh, well, maybe we should do our duty. Maybe we should take our obligation to our service members seriously. Maybe we should even recognize that we have an obligation to our service members." And so this is what was going on in Texas at Fort Hood. And I know that area really well. I grew up in that area too. I met my husband in that area. I was married on Fort Hood in the chapel there. And our daughter, Hannah, was born in Killeen. I know that area. It's a dangerous area. So not only was she a whistleblower, and they disregarded her whistleblower protection, right? Oh, maybe she was illegally exposed like Richard Halliday. So, and then she goes missing. Her being a whistleblower should have put flags up immediately. Her being a service member and being missing should have put flags up. But being a whistleblower and a service member, that's double flags. And then you're at Fort Hood, right? Which is a dangerous place. Lots of flags. Hey, lots of flags. And why is it in a dangerous place? Because nobody's doing their duty. Nobody is even recognizing that they have an obligation for the citizens that live in the clean area, for the military that are stationed, the service members that are stationed at Fort Hood. That's why. Okay. And I didn't realize how bad it was until look at what's going on right now and find Richard Halliday's case. And I'm going to tell you how bad it is. And it's bad. And the silence is what is so loud. The silence, the dereliction of duty by so many, the negligence. And this has been going on, we know for a long, long time. Because everything starts making sense now. Why is Fort Bragg so dangerous? Why is Fort Hood so dangerous? Why is Fort Bliss so dangerous? Why is Fort Stewart so dangerous? Why do we have Marines that are at Camp Pendleton in the business of human trafficking? Why do we have Marines right now that are caught in not only arms deals with Mexico, but that they're hitmen, they're hired hitmen. So our Marines are now hired hitmen? Why do we have, and I did get some pushback when I said our 44 four-star generals and admirals are serving foreign and domestic enemies instead of defending our Constitution, the land, and the people. I got hit back with that. But now I'm getting people saying, well, you know what? I've been thinking about what you've been saying, and I think you're right. Where are our 44 four-star generals and admirals? Where is that General Garrett or General McConville and General Mealy? And I should do it right now while I'm on this live. Doesn't it make sense why they didn't even contact us now? Doesn't it make sense? Because you're talking about, let's put up these timelines. Matter of fact, I'll share my screen here so you can see it. So the timeline for location 1, where these are leaks that are being given to us, with autopsy leaks being given to us. The report itself is not given to us. It's the leaks of them. Is it a joke? Well, this is no joke if it's a joke. This is no laughing matter. This is just pure evil if this is what their intention is. But I don't think it's with bad intention that we're getting this. Okay? I don't think so. Because everything's starting to make sense. Look at these dates. July 23rd, Richard was last seen at Fort Bliss. July 27th, Halliday was reported missing. July 29th, partial remains of the body were found on the Red Rio Range near Fort Bliss. August 7th, additional remains were found in the same area. August 9th, Army officials announced that the remains were those of Richard Halliday. And, the autopsy reports that we got, one of them is, the numbers, we didn't get the report. Okay. We got leaks about these reports. And the numbers of the reports, that need to be officially looked into. And we should have the DA all over this. We should have the AG all over this. We should have the 44 four-star generals. I don't care if you're an admiral or a general, because we have admirals there. looking over the emergency intake center at Fort Bliss. Where, you know, where is the love for country, the love for duty, the caring for the service member? Um, and if they have a bad attitude, it's because they created this culture. They created what we have today with the lack of their moral compass, the lack of their sense of duty, the lack of them being an example, taking advantage of their positions. And I'm saying this with uh, the young 21-year-old National Guardsman, because there's these debates going on. Was it right what he did, and all of that? And I'm like, no, it wasn't right what he did. No, right? It wasn't right that he's, oh yeah, hey, look at all these secrets. Let me put them on my Discord. That's not right. He could have went to his leadership and said, hey, look, we're not securing our intelligence here. It's all over the place. And I'm a 21-year-old. I shouldn't be able to see this stuff. And I am. And I can take pictures real easy. Who is in charge of securing our intelligence? Who's in charge of securing our national secrets? Yeah, he could have done that. But you know what? We have just seen years and years of leaks at the highest levels, and nobody cares. Nothing was done about it. At the highest levels, there were leaks and sharing of information, and even in the Air Force, sharing, doxing people, and, all kinds of illegal exposures, illegal trading of information, illegal pay for play for information. I mean, it's been going on at the highest levels. And so the culture is, who cares? It's out there. If I can get it, anyone can get it. So, and our leadership doesn't care, because if our leadership cared, we would have firewalls on this. We would have some kind of brick wall on, lock it with a key, because the cover-ups that they have is secured. They'll even kill to cover up their crimes. That's secured. That's covered up, and they'll go to great lengths to do it. So here is this guy here. Let's listen to him.
Never had money spent like that.
Mr. Van Drew, I think he...
On prosecutor elections. We never had money spent like that on prosecutor elections, and it's wrong. Prosecutors should run because they want to defend the law, help their police, and most of all, help you. God bless you after being a victim and losing people you love, that you're here. I can't believe how strong you are. And you know what begs a question too? Who's worse? Is it a prosecutor who doesn't enforce the law, or the criminal? Well, the prosecutor who doesn't enforce the law has a broad effect across the whole city and should know better, and is taking his position, that position of such importance, to be the legal guardian, to be the person that's the caretaker of our America.
Right. Exactly. And I hope you could hear that. I'm trying to go online to make sure that people can hear. So what he's saying is that who's worse, the prosecutor or the criminal, right? Because right now we have prosecutors that are not doing their job, like the DA. Bill Hicks could absolutely reach out to us. We faxed him a letter. He could absolutely reach out. If he loved our country, if he loved our service members, if he loved justice, I mean, You become a justice. This is what Mr. Van Drew is saying. You become a prosecutor because you love justice, right? You love the rule of law. And what we have right now is a big criminal syndicate. Someone is pulling the strings. Someone's pulling the strings of our lawyers. Someone's pulling the strings of our judges. Someone's pulling the strings of our 44 four-star generals. Someone's pulling the strings of our representatives. That includes the senators. Someone's pulling the strings of, like our whole society that's supposed to be checks and balances and about the rule of law. And what we have today is
and so for all this talk of
we have Richard 1,000 days, just about 1,000 days that he's missing. And we're finding out these dates. Let's look at these dates again. I just think they're amazing, these dates that we have. July 29th, partial remains of the body were found on the Red Rio Range near Fort Bliss. We'll look up here to this one. This is the second location. August 3rd, 2020. And there's, August 3rd, 2020. Remains of Richard Halliday were found and filled in Clint, Texas. I don't know if I've got the right location here, okay? Because I got 7 miles east of Clint. That's exactly 7 miles east of Clint, and it's called Roberts Tank. But I don't know. And we need help. We need help. Where is our help? We pay taxes year after year after year so that we can have law enforcement, so that we can have a DA, so that we can have an AG, so we can have an FBI, so we can have a U.S. Marshal, so we can have the Sheriff's Department, so we can have representatives, so we can have senators, so we can have these people, these judges to help us, right? That's why we have, and the media. And where is the media? They're silenced. So we are doing a campaign right now, 1,000 letters for 1,000 days. And I want to add right now, this very minute, to that campaign and say 1,000 letters to the main media affiliates, to the main ones, not to these local ones, right? To the main media conglomerate. What are they called? The big mass media. We need to write them and say the local media stations are not covering this. What's going on? Right? So we need to send massive amounts of communication to them, because our only recourse is going on live and reaching out to the people and telling all of you what's going on, because this is not the first time. And if they could do this to Richard, if they could do this to Asia, if they could do this to Austin Hawk, if they can do this to Vanessa Guillen, because Richard went missing during that time and they still didn't do anything. Even with that bit of outreach, there was no urgency to put him in the news. And like Vanessa, Richard was a whistleblower. And we're finding out, and I gave this yesterday, but I think this is very important, because the leaks also, because I have piles of leaks here, and going through it, shocking that, and I don't know, these are leaks, right? We need help to verify these all. Who is there to help us? We can't even get the name of the canine dog that supposedly looked for Richard. We We can't even get a communication at the beginning saying, oh, your son's missing. We can't even get a little bit of loyalty, a little bit of communication when it comes to Hema Sochil being the wife of First Sergeant Ruggiero, Richard's first sergeant. We can't even get a straight answer when a man goes into a Dollar General and says he's with the FBI and that they have found Richard. Matter of fact, that happened on October 26th. And you're going to see as I post up these locations of Richard, because there's 4 locations that we have of Richard, that the last location, well, let me think. The location that I'm thinking of is October 19th. October 19th that they found Richard. Okay? And it was in Juarez. So that third location is in Juarez. And here the man goes into the Dollar General and says, we found Richard. That was on October 26th. So a week later, he's saying they were over there and they found him. And it all makes sense. Everything fits together. Everything makes sense. Why they didn't want to have a real task force find Richard Halliday? Because they already had his body parts. And they couldn't afford to risk their careers, their stars, their stripes, their positions in government and the DOD with another Vanessa Guillen. So while look at these dates, while everything was in turmoil, July 29th, right? August 7th, everything was in turmoil with Vanessa Guillen, right? And all of a sudden they're going to announce, oh yeah, we have another murder here at Fort Bliss that was brutally murdered and cut up into pieces. And not only that, they learned from Vanessa Guillen's case and they decided not to put all the remains in one place, but to divide them up in at least to 4 places, right? This is what is happening. And so from the highest levels of the DOD, it had to be from General McConville. It had to be from General Milley. It had to be from the highest levels in the DOD, the Secretary of the Army, the Secretary of Defense, that they decided to cover this up and that they would have a very colluded. I mean, what does it take? You have to have a lot of power to get all the media to go along with this. Well, not all media. That's why we got leaks. But that you can control the DA and the AG. Don't get involved in the El Paso police, because this is what I got sidetracked. But that Richard had gone to the El Paso police with complaints. So he first went to the CID with complaints. This is what the leaks are saying. And, people say, you need to go get FOIAs. Well, where are the answers to our FOIAs? You put in a FOIA, you do all the work, which we need to do it, for this latest information, that Richard went to the CID to make complaints of all the things going on in his unit. And they didn't do anything. And that was like Asia Graham when she got raped. She went to her command and they didn't do anything. They didn't care. And yeah, so he went to the CID. He went to the El Paso police to put these complaints. And now how do we know that? Because The leak was about the Child Protective Service complaint. And at the beginning of the Child Protective Service complaint, leak is saying that Richard was going to the Child Protective Services over and above and beyond his chain of command because the CID, the command that he went to, the CID that he went to, was not doing anything. And the crimes are so serious that he has to go to the he has to go to someone. So he tried El Paso Police Department. He tried the Child Protective Services. So, we're talking about people in these agencies, military or federal, or state, that are not doing their job, or that they're connected and they're protecting someone else rather than do their duty. And so what is that called for when Mealy does something like this, when McConville does something like this? I think that the death penalty needs to be on the table. I think that's how serious this is. And I'm going to look up some laws and see, with crimes against humanity, what is the penalty for crimes against humanity? What is the crime for withholding information from next of kin about the remains of a murdered soldier? What's the penalty for that? Because we, at this point, look at this, the 29th, the 7th, August 10th, and then here is August 3rd, August 6th. We didn't even know that Richard was missing. We didn't even know. No wonder Captain Yoshida was crying. No wonder Command Sergeant Major Jakovitz was so upset. He was so upset, y'all. He was trying to hold himself together. And he was shaking. You would not believe it. And I've said that for a long time. He was shaking. And I could read it all over his face. He had now participated in unbelievable evil. I almost think it's a crime what they put our, because you see this Command Sergeant Major, he's like, oh, crap. And because we have let this go on and on and on for so long, he's surrounded. He's surrounded with the unbelievable evil. I don't know what choices he would have had except for to put his whole career on the chopping block. Now, that should never happen. Never happen. So if he wants to do the right thing, his whole career is going to be on the chopping block? Because we have tolerated and tolerated and tolerated unbelievable evil for so long that now we're infested with it? Because, let's say 50% of this is right. That means you still have Richard's partial parts, his partial remains being found. Right? And if half of it's right, it's before we even knew that Richard was missing. And the media never covered that Richard was missing or AWOL or anything like that. And this was during Vanessa Guillen. This is during Gregory Morales, 2 soldiers that were considered AWOL, that were not AWOL. They were brutally murdered. And nobody was catching on? There was no urgency? And we pay $1 trillion and more, trillions of dollars in taxes or, debt, whatever you want to call it. And they can't even say, well, let's show a little urgency right now for our soldiers that we stamp with AWOL. Now, we know that Richard is not designated AWOL anymore. We know that he is a CONUS Dust 1 missing soldier, and not any CONUS Dust 1 missing soldier. He's the first one. He was that close to Vanessa Guillen, right? That he's the first CONUS, Continental USA, Dust 1, duty status, whereabouts unknown, which is very rare to give a soldier that kind of designation. So this, this should put up flags too. Missing soldier, that should put up flags. And where is Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, who promised us that he was not going to forget Richard? He would have something in the press every month until Richard was found. Well, I guess he kept his promise, right? Because Richard was found, according to this, before we even knew he was missing. So that was really clever of him. He can say, I kept my promise. And he never said, well, when we find Richard, we'll tell you. He never said that to us. Right? Because they already found him. And they were keeping it, shh. Remember the Dollar General man? Shh, shh. And then Corinne Adeline writing, he is not going, shh. He's pushing up his mask. I'm like, no. Let's hone into that video, right? He is not pushing up his mask. Matter of fact, maybe we should show it. Let me see if I can find it. I think it's right here, right on Find Richard Halliday. And he's going, shh, keep it a secret. And I don't know how many people have watched this video.
I'm just going to videotape it because I can't remember everything. Yeah, he came by and then he asked.
Let's see if I can move it forward. Can I move it forward? No. That's not it. Shouldn't have showed you that. That's all right. Anyway, I need to find it because it's so important. Let's see if I can do it. Do you see what danger we're in? What the amount of bullying we've gotten, the amount of censorship, the amount of sabotage that we always have to worry about. Yeah. I did find it. I just don't like Facebook for that. I love Telegram because it's so much easier to find things. Okay, I'll have to do it tomorrow. I'll have to do it tomorrow when I find it, or someone can send it to me real quick. But yeah, he's saying, shh, everything's making sense now. Let me put this back on to the locations. So this is location 2. This is location 1, which y'all know. The range is if you live in that area, and it is military, so we know that we have 3 autopsies. One is by the military, and I think it's more than one because there's an undisclosed place, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. What I think, what I predict, just because of dates, because of our timeline, this is filling in the timeline. One of the autopsies was done by El Paso, and then the other by Mexico. So you have 3. So the locations now are separate leaks from the autopsies. And voila, they match. You have one that is a military. Then you have one that is Clint, right? Clint, the Roberts tank. Then you have one that is in kilometer 29. Really, it's really more closer to kilometer 30. So we got that exact measurement too, where the remains were found. And these were all partial remains. And we have one Mexican autopsy to match that. So whoever's doing the autopsies are matching the locations that we're getting. Now, I don't know what the percent of the odds of that are. I know a lot of people like the horse racing and everything in that area of Sunland. You can tell me, what are the odds of the 3 autopsy offices matching the 3 areas where remains would be found? What are the odds of that, right? And then that fits. Everything is fitting. Why they didn't really want to look for Richard, why they just did it as part of PT, let's just, we already got the parts, but we already got his remains, but the family doesn't know, so let's try to fake them out. That's why the whole canine thing was fake. That's why the media, everything was so fake. And we couldn't figure out why they didn't care. Well, they did care. They already knew they had the remains, but they were all covering themselves in the highest levels. Mealy, McConville, Garrett, those 44 4-star generals and admirals, they were covering themselves because this makes them look so bad that they have to have a female that's been sexually assaulted to be bludgeoned to death in the arms room, right? Where who knows what, you got the Marines selling arms. Who's selling the arms, right? Is this like some big business in the Army that you're selling arms to everybody on taxpayers' dime? Get the taxpayers to flip, pay for all of these arms to be developed and manufactured, and then you steal them and sell them to other people. What a business plan, right? Criminal syndicate. Then she winds up being found chopped, burnt in a hole. And then you have Austin Hawk. Then you have Enrique Roman Martinez. Both of them, well, Enrique, the only thing we have back is his chopped off head, right? And then Austin Hawk, brutal. It makes the 44 4-star generals and admirals look really, really bad. And they were looking so bad because they were caught. They didn't want anyone to find Vanessa Guillen. I'm telling you, when you look at the timeline of Vanessa Guillen's search, they were not urgent. They were not organized with the will to want to find her. It was quite the opposite. And with Richard, it was screaming at us that they did not want to find him. And they went to huge lengths. And we had FBI informants try to sabotage this. political pundits trying to sabotage this, asymmetric warfare officers, tacticians in the asymmetric warfare try to sabotage this. We had military operations try to sabotage this. And they've done a good job because we're at 1,000 days. But the thing is, even though they set all the smears and everything, and they did really hurt the whole image of Fine Richard Halliday, with trying to make him out to be someone he's not. But, family knew different. Family and friends knew different. And we were like, this doesn't make any sense. And you're lying. You're lying. And then more and more leaks would come out, more and more abnormalities would come forth. I mean, it was so sloppy, so messy. Like, oh, there's no passport. Like they wanted to mislead us on purpose. I really think it was on purpose now. So that we would not come to Fort Bliss. That we would not come. They never invited us to Fort Bliss. They never said, come, help us look, let's talk. Let's talk. Let me interview you so we can help find your son. There was none of that. So we had to make our way and push our way to El Paso, to Fort Bliss. And don't forget that First Sergeant Jay Pollan was like trying to say, don't come. You don't know El Paso, don't come. I'm like, yeah, I do know El Paso. Oh, well, I want to, you know about Vanessa Guillen. Well, I want to assure you this isn't that. Well, how do you know this isn't that? I think he knew this was that. I think he knew this was that. And that's why they've been so angry, because they know. And they've been angry because we didn't believe them. Why don't you believe our lies? Why don't you believe our lies? No, because they're insane. They're ridiculous. You're telling me I'm a mother and you're telling me not to come to El Paso to look for my son when you failed to even contact us? And you're telling me lies about my son? Something stunk. And you're telling me to keep away when something stinks? Emergency lights go on in a mother's head when people are that corrupt, when they're that cold-blooded, when they're that insane. So we made our way. We made our way there. And it's been a very interesting experience. And sad, because we were there and now we're learning that the DA should have reached out to us. We're learning that the AG should have reached out to us. We're learning that, so that's Jaime Esparza. That's Bill Hicks. That is, maybe Paxton should have reached out to us. Maybe Greg McDonald should have reached out to us. That other Steve guy. That we wrote to. And do I know his name? Well, no, because he never contacts us back. He never makes himself known. They're just all taking advantage of their position and not working for their money. They're not. They have two faces, like this public face, and we don't even know Bill Hicks because he wasn't even voted in. Did he ever campaign? And he calls himself the victim's DA. And where is he? Because as more and more information comes out, it makes them look so bad. And they were worried in 2020 that they would look bad if they revealed to the family that they had found Richard's dismembered, brutally murdered remains. Lies are not sustainable. And if the coroner's office is in on this, along with the attorneys, along with the rest of the justice system, along with our representatives, I mean, where's Ted Cruz in all of this? Where is he? He's the one that gave the rubber stamp to Jaime Esparza to be the attorney general. Where is Governor Abbott in all of this? And where are the 44 four-star generals in all of this? I think, they should be in corners sucking their thumb and shaking like a Command Sergeant Major Jake Jakovitz, because I think the death penalty is right there on the table in front of them. If we have justice in this land, that's what would be right in front of them. If we'd have justice. And not trying to blame everything on a 21-year-old or, underage drinking, or what about this National Guardsman 21-year-old? That he's been given an example. He's been groomed to not care about our national secrets. He's been groomed not to have esprit de corps. He's been groomed not to have the Medal of Honor ethos. He's been groomed. Because let me tell you, we have plenty of evidence of the lack of character that is being groomed. And remember, I was always told growing up, the hand that rocks the cradle is the hand that rules the world. Well, who's rocking the cradle? Groomers. Groomers for sex cults. Groomers to sell, to create drug addicts. Groomers to suicide. Groomers to be a criminal syndicate. That's who's rocking the cradle. The hand that rocks the cradle is the hand that rules the world. And I think we should take it a little bit more serious. Who is rocking the cradle? Who is training and teaching our children? Who is schooling them, or are they educating them? And what is? Some foreign ideology, or what we know as the American way, the biblical way, the Medal of Honor ethos, the Good Samaritan, the esprit de corps, the respect and loyalty and duty and honor and integrity and personal courage and selfless service, and all of those virtues. Is that the hand that's rocking the cradle, or are the vices rocking the cradle? So that's it's so big, the amount of unbelievable evil that they've got their tentacles in everything, and they can make someone like Command Sergeant Major Jakovitz. And I mention him because I went out to eat with him and his wife. And, I saw him. Unlike Jay Paulin, who's, I really cared about your son. I was his first sergeant. But we were there over 3 months, and he didn't even come to one rally. And I invited him over and over again. Come on out. And El Paso is not that big, y'all. It's just not that big. And he's not too busy to meet the family and loved ones of a missing soldier. One of his missing soldiers. So his absence spoke volumes. And Jake, he participated with the unbelievable evil, y'all. And he was having a battle. This is my assessment. He might tell me I'm wrong. But I saw it in his face, and he was battling with it. He was at war with it. And I think it was very unfair that our country puts him in situations like that. And you might, might think different than that. But what was his option? He's surrounded by unbelievable demons. And it's either he becomes a demon too. He was in that transition, just like Brigadier General Stewart. Right in front of our eyes, we saw him transition into a demon. Nice guy. And then that last meeting, it was like, whoa, what happened to him? Yeah, they clicked his heels together and said, join us or lose it all. Lose it all. So what does join us mean? You've got to join us in the criminal cabal. And it has to be a criminal cabal because that's what it is. It's a criminal cabal. We have, you think 2 Marines getting caught with human trafficking and another 2 Marines getting caught selling their sharpshooter abilities to kill people that you want while they're trading weapons that they didn't even buy? Or did they buy them? Did they buy them? Or did the American people's tax money buy them? You think those are isolated cases? No, this is a systemic problem. We just had that big systemic view peek hole by the 21-year-old that just got arrested. That's the National Guards, showing that the money was not going where it's supposed to be and that we had boots on the ground. Well, that costs money. Boots on the ground. Enormous amount of money. Helping to war against Russia, putting us at war with Russia, that's what that did. So we have these 2 locations. Oh, I put this up because they lie to us. They lie to us to our face in such a clownish way. This was an absolute clown lie. That the exit out of Afghanistan wasn't chaotic. They're not afraid of any accountability at all. Because they would never so if they can lie to us about this, if they can lie to us about Ukraine, if they could lie to us about the COVID nonsense, if they could lie to us about the moon, if they could lie to us about so many different things. See, that's what I was even told. Of course they're lying to you about your son. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they're right. And how bad is the lie? Well, we're finding out, aren't we? And the silence. So we need all the help that we can get to, because look, we've put in FOIAs. Oh, you need to FOIA every one of those autopsies. And then, 2 years later, oh, when are we going to get the FOIA? 2 years later, and then it comes back all redacted. We still haven't gotten one FOIA yet answered. Okay? Not one return. Not one. We're at 1,000 days. We still haven't gotten an official letter. We still can't even get the name of the canine that supposedly looked for Richard, sniffed Richard's remains or whatever. And that's why they were so nervous. It just dawned on me, because maybe other remains, linger. I mean, he is so nervous about this dog sniffing. Even though I always thought it was like a commercial that they showed us. And let's have the name of the canine. Let's have the name of the handler. Nope. Can't do that. So they can cover a lot of things, but not everything. And the stars in their course fought against Sisera. So we found out, I think our biggest accomplishment, besides the Dollar General man, the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bugado in G3 of 32nd ADCOM, G3, 30-second ADCOM, which is Richard's command, saying that Richard is dead. Shh. The October 26, 2020. That was big. That was really, really big. And then the other really big accomplishment was the vile and vulgar messages. And why was that so important? Because we found out that Tavita Nusa, a CID special agent, which, remember now from our information, Richard went to the CID to report what was going on in his unit, right? And that's just a little office. And this, when he reported to the Child Protective Services, that made him a whistleblower. He was a whistleblower. He had whistleblower protection, right? CID Special Agent Tavita Nusa, he illegally exposed Richard, taking away his whistleblower protection and putting a target on Richard. And then that's why from then on, Richard was targeted for retaliation, for bullying, for sexual assault. Yes, you just heard me say that. And until it escalated so much to the end that he was brutally murdered, cut asunder, divided, and put in different parts of Western Texas and Juarez, Mexico. Yeah. And they covered it up. Shh. Shh. We found him. Shh. You can take that down. You can take that flyer down, he said. Shh. But why is one of our biggest accomplishments about the vile and vulgar phone messages? Because they were coming in after we got that Tavita Nusa to Lalani Hart, who is the mother of First Lieutenant Dallas Hart, which this paperwork, I have it right in front of me. What does it say? Dallas Hart was the executive officer of Delta Battery 14380A, which was the same unit as Private Richard Halliday. I'm not going to tell you which report, which office this was in regard to the murder of Halliday. According to publicly available court documents. I don't want to read anymore to you until I go through it. But that is shocking because Dallas Hart called us and said, I never was part of Delta Battery 14388. Well, why is this saying Dallas Hart was the executive officer of Delta Battery 14388, which was the same unit that Private Richard Halliday was a member of? I don't know. But you know, where are the captains? Where's Captain Park saying, no, Dallas Hart was never the XO of Delta Battery 143? Where is the general saying, no, where's the colonel? Where is Lieutenant Colonel Erica Jackson, right? Where is she? Why can't she say, oh, no one has corroborated what he has said. No one has confirmed what he has said. We just have to believe him. But when it comes to what we're telling you, that that guy going into the Dollar General was the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bugado of the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM. You know, I've been saying that for a long time, y'all. Over a year at least. Probably close to 2 years I've been saying that, and no one is outraged because of that. No one demands answers because of that. So here we get this, okay, Tavita Nusa, CID special agent, is leaking, exposing Richard, targeting Richard. What else did he do to Richard? To Leilani Hart, who's the mother of First Lieutenant Dallas Hart, which we have, I want to say 3 claims that he was Delta Battery 143. Right? So where's the help in that? Right? And then we start getting, right after that, February to May, we start getting vile and vulgar messages daily. They upped their asymmetric warfare tactics. We didn't know that. We're like, why are these people so hateful to us? Why are they so low, degenerate? Why are these so sexually degenerate and low? And how do they have everything from Richard's past? How do they have all of our files that they can look in and comb through information and send us these vile and vulgar messages, right? These were intelligence that were, and I was thinking, are these bots? Are these intelligent bots that are made with our file information and they just feed it to us, all this nasty, nasty stuff? I didn't know, but it was nasty. And after going through 3 months of it, I thought, oh my gosh, I've got to stop this. I've got to trace this. So we're getting together. We're figuring out how to trace it. We trace it. We trace these numbers. And where do they lead? They don't lead to where we kind of thought they would lead to. They lead to asymmetric warfare tactics, military operation. They lead to NATO. They lead to an embassy. They lead to the White House. They lead to Toronto City Hall. They lead to the center, the hub of censorship in Santa Clara at, the Silicon Valley hub, where they're censoring anyone that wants to speak out against anything, including COVID. We'll just hide you. We'll just get rid of you. We'll just take you off the platform. That's where these phone calls were traced back to. And why was that so important? Because it was like, this is okay. This is a concerted effort. This is on purpose. They're not that they're vile. They're vile, but this is a cover-up. So it gave us an answer. This was a cover-up. We sent that information to everybody that was anybody and having a duty, an obligation to care for Richard, to look for him, to get him justice, to get answers, to expose all of this evil. And you know what? It was crickets. Almost a year crickets. So now it's more exposed. They even look worse because they're using everything we pay for them to protect the Constitution, to protect the land and the people. They're using it as a weapon against us. They have been totally weaponized against us, against a family, against the service members, against a missing service member. And, the easiest way I can tell people is, look, they sent a senior leader to go stand at the military police guard mount during the change. And how many times did this person go to the change of shift on the military police guard mount and convince the military police there on Fort Bliss that Richard was so gross that they shouldn't find him? And when we got that from Anthony Swafford, and I haven't heard from Anthony Swafford since, but he treated us like we were dirt, like we were, gross too. And he doesn't even know us. And he's a military police. So he's been groomed, you see, just like that 21-year-old National Guardsman. He's been groomed to go along with this unbelievable evil. Because if you look at the historic military police, any police officer, anybody that is, in law enforcement, they're not supposed to be like, oh, you're gross, so I'm not going to help you. No, they're supposed to say, this is a missing soldier from Fort Bliss. I'm a Fort Bliss military police. I need to find him. I need to solve this mystery. I need to be courteous and respectful to all the people I deal with. Right? And I need to handcuff. I need to, of course, when you're dealing with criminals, you have to act in that professional way. And you should be trained that way to apprehend them properly. So, of course, this whole thing makes total sense that Richard was found as soon as 28th, 29th July. And that his remains, at least most of his remains, were found before we even knew he was missing. And that by October 19th, remains were found with items with, we're hearing his phone. We were always told they don't have his phone. And now we're hearing, this is another blockbuster, that his phone was there with his remains in Juarez. And it was last pinged in Juarez. That's what we're hearing. And we have nobody that we can count on with all the taxpayers' money, with all of the things that we suffer with our rights being taken away because they say Homeland Security is needed to fight terrorism. And then they turn it around and use it against us. Where are the U.S. Marshals? Where is the sheriff's department there in El Paso? Because I'm telling you, their name is everywhere. What role did they play? Where is the El Paso police officers? Huh? Where are they? And where are the 44 four-star generals and admirals? Where are they? And where are the veterans in all of this? The veterans should be pounding. Pounding meaning on the airwaves, letters, um, you know, contacting media, contacting everybody. These veteran groups should help us. Okay, I'll take questions now. Thank you everybody for joining in. 3 comments. Oh, wow. I am the one that created this group. All right. Oh, what group are you talking about? And it seems Richard had a cut on the forearm as a self-defense wound and had to go to the hospital prior to him missing. Absolutely. That makes sense now, too, because, we were told right after we found out that he was missing that he was in the hospital because he slit his wrists. And we were like, what? And nobody contacted us? I mean, not even the Red Cross? Nobody? Oh, my God. And I was sick for 3 days. I'm not joking. I was like, what in the world? And this came from First Sergeant Jay Paulin. Oh, yes, I visited him in the hospital. Then we get his hospital report, and no, he didn't slice his wrists. He had a defensive wound that was superficial, a superficial wound right here on the fatty part of his forearm. And I was like, oh, that's from going like this, right? Because he was karate, right? Yeah. So that made sense. Absolutely. That's why they can't use "Be All You Can Be" slogan anymore, because the individual marketing slogan on commercial was arrested. Absolutely. TikTok. Okay. I have to go there. Is he still missing, or are these reports true? Okay, Erica. We have no cooperation. We have 3 autopsy reports that we have given you so far, or made public, and they match the places. Like, if remains are found on Donna Ana Range, that Red Rio Range, that would go to the military, right? That remains would go to the military to have an autopsy done on them. If you're in Clint, right? If your remains are in Clint, then El Paso County would do that autopsy, because that is El Paso County. And then if your remains are found in Mexico and Juarez, then the Mexican government would do the autopsy, right? So we have those 3 places, and where are the autopsy offices from? Military, El Paso, and Mexican. Is that a coincidence? I don't know. I don't know what the odds, but I think the odds are that looks pretty convincing to me. And that's why I'm releasing that information. So that is, I can't see all comments. So even if he was the person they made him out to be, in what world would that justify not searching for a missing soldier? Absolutely. And I kept telling them that. And, like, the first thing that the CID told me is, well, your son is not a Christian. He's an atheist. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Where is he? it made them so insane. It made them so ridiculous. It made them look so clownish. In what world does that matter? Find him. Exactly. Thank you. And then we get his stuff and his Christmas trees in it. Figure that. Not specifically about Richard, but it could give us a really good idea of where our missing people are going. Yeah. Well, yeah. Has there been a gag order on the media due to the report about finding Richard's remains? They tried to hide the article. I don't think they can put a gag order on the media. I don't know. But I think that someone is pulling the strings, and funding pulls strings hard. Robert's tank. His father and brother's name is Robert. Yeah. I am the one. Okay. I read that before. They designated him after they possibly already had his remains. Yeah. And it seems Richard, they did whatever they could. And they did it in a way that exposed them. It was, you knew that something didn't smell right, And it seems Richard had a cut, right? We know that. Richard's father, yep. All involved are criminals, in my opinion. Oh, yeah. Big time. By them not doing their job is criminal. Exactly. And by them staying silent is criminal. You know that they have a legal obligation to respond to us because they're our servants. They work for us. And so for them to not respond to us is definitely criminal. That's why they can't. Okay, yeah. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Well, thank you. And the best thing we can do right now, our only hope is everybody. And I call it the communion of the saints, Go out there, write a letter to IG Michael Horowitz to inspect the investigation of Richard Halliday, the soldier there at Fort Bliss that's missing 1,000 days. Absolutely. Contact not the local media, but you need the main offices. The main offices of ABC and NBC and CNN and Fox News, and the main offices, because the local offices are not covering. And I'll explain that tomorrow to you, why that's so important. So we're going to have a campaign to do that. Also, I do have the t-shirts, and I'm telling you, we're just putting them out there. We are not making one dime off of them. Okay, we just did it for what they're selling them for, and it's just to draw awareness. Where's Richard? Where's Richard? And we made this before we got the leaks that I think have convinced me, until they tell me officially no, that it's really, where's Richard's remains? Where are they holding Richard's remains? And give me Richard's remains. Give us Richard's remains and stop this unbelievable evil. So that's that t-shirt. Yeah, there he is. Okay, so and there's also one that's more military-like, that does not have his face on it. It's on gray, and I think that's very powerful too. Where's Richard? But I think just sharing, making TikToks, talking about this, because you know what? The military, they don't even know that Richard's missing half of them, probably more than half of them. And that's also criminal from our 44 four-star generals and admirals. So, and then cover up Veronica. She's the one that has oversight of all of this and can hold their feet to the fire. And where is she? Where is she? The silence is very loud. It speaks volumes. Okay, thank you, everyone. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow.